Good morning, children. I hope you all are fine. We have already completed the last unit. Today, we will start with the first chapter of Unit 1, that is Reproduction in Organisms. See, we all know that living organisms take birth, and after taking birth, they live or they survive for a specific period of time. So that period from birth to natural death of an organism is known as its lifespan. And the lifespan of an organism is not necessarily correlated with its size. Its size means its body size. That is, if the organism is big in size, it doesn't mean that it will survive for a long period of time. And if the organism is small in size, it doesn't mean that it will survive for a short period of time. Okay, and vice versa. So lifespan can vary from less than 1 day to more than 400 years. Now we will be seeing, okay, this slide shows us the lifespan of different organisms. Say for example, the mayfly, it can survive for 1 day. If we talk of butterfly, it survives for 1 to 2 weeks. If we talk of crow, it survives for 15 years. Crocodile, the lifespan is 60 years. Men, lifespan is 100 years. Okay, now it doesn't mean that men or each and every man will survive for 100 years. Lifespan means the period from birth to natural death of an organism. Okay, so this is the lifespan of men. If we talk of parrot, the lifespan is 140 years. For tortoise, it is 100 to 150 years. For wheat plant, it is 6 months. For banyan tree, it is 200 years. And like that, there are many other organisms like fruit fly. It is 30 days. For rice plant, it is 3 to 4 months. For rose, it is 5 to 7 years. For dog, it is 10 to 13 years. For crow, it is 15 years. As I've already told you, for banana tree, it is 25 years. For monkey, 26 years. Horse, 60 years. Elephant, 65 years. Mango tree, 150 to 200 years. So this is about the lifespan of different organisms. But irrespective of long or short lifespan of an organism, death is a certain phenomenon. That is, no individual is immortal. The organisms which take birth has to die. One or the other day, the organism is going to die, except for few single cell organisms like amoeba. Amoeba is immortal. As you have learned that it undergoes binary fission. The parental cell divides and it produces two daughter cells. Right? So the parent cell is dividing and producing two daughter cells. So the parent cell is not dying. It is producing the new cells. So we can say that amoeba is immortal. There must be some processes in living organisms that ensure continuity of species, and this process is called reproduction. In this chapter, you will be introduced with the different modes of reproduction present in various species and the importance of this process. So let us start with the topic reproduction. Now, before moving into the types of reproduction, let us have the simple introduction of reproduction. Every living organism passes through definite stages of life cycle. It takes birth, matures, reproduces, and finally dies. Reproduction is one of the fundamental characteristics of living organisms through which each species ensures its continuity. It is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones or offsprings similar to itself. Here, this term, that is similar to itself, is very important. Okay, that means reproduction is the process in which the new organism is produced of its own kind. Okay, let me make it more specific. It means a banyan tree is going to produce a banyan tree only. A mango tree is going to produce mango tree only. It is not going to produce an apple tree. Similarly, men is going to give birth to the babies. Okay, that is human beings only. It is not going to give birth to any other kind of animal, right? So reproduction is the biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones or offsprings similar to itself or of its own kind. Reproduction, my dear children, reproduction also helps in maintaining the continuous cycle of birth, growth and death. And reproduction perform various functions, like as I told you, it maintains life on earth. The second function of reproduction is it enables continuity of the species generation after generation. It helps in continuation of the species. Okay. And the third function is it creates genetic variation among populations. Now, children, several factors which determine how an organism reproduces are: first is the organism's habitat, the second one is its internal physiology, and the third one is environmental conditions. Based on the participation of the number of organisms or the parents, reproduction is categorized into two types, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves only one parent or a single parent is involved in asexual reproduction, whereas in sexual reproduction two parents are involved, wherein one is the male and the other one is female. Okay, that means sexual reproduction involves two parents of opposite sex. Okay. Now, the second difference between asexual and sexual reproduction is, in asexual reproduction, there is no formation and fusion of gametes. There will be no gamete formation and there will be no fusion of gametes in asexual reproduction, whereas in sexual reproduction, formation and fusion of gametes takes place. The third difference is it involves mitotic division. It means asexual reproduction involves mitotic division. Mitotic division is the equational division, which means when the parent cell have the 2n number of chromosomes, the daughter cells will also have 2n number of chromosomes. So it is called equational division or it is called mitotic division. So asexually reproducing organisms undergoes mitotic division. Whereas if we talk of sexual reproduction, then it involves meiosis, which is the reductional division. Means the number of chromosomes reduces to half. If the parental cell have 2n number of chromosomes, the daughter cells will have n number of chromosomes. Okay. And the last difference is, in asexual reproductions, the individuals which are formed, they are genetically identical. And as they are genetically and morphologically identical, they are called clones of each other. Okay. Whereas if we talk of individuals which are produced due to sexual reproduction, then they show variation. Okay, offsprings which are produced shows variations, means there will be changes in the offsprings which are produced from that of their parents. I hope this much is clear. Okay. Now, if we talk about more in detail about asexual reproduction, then when the offsprings are produced by a single parent without the involvement of gamete formation, we have already studied about this, we have already talked about this, The reproduction is called asexual reproduction, wherein only single parent is involved and there is no formation or involvement of the gametes. It involves mitotic division. This also we have seen. Okay, we have learned this. Meiosis does not occur in asexual reproduction. And the offsprings which are produced, they are genetically and morphologically identical. That is, they are exact copies to each other as well as to their parents, and hence they are called the clones. Okay. Then asexual reproduction occurs in plants, protozoans, and some lower animals such as sponges, coelentrates, in certain worms and tunicates, and it is absent among the higher non-vertebrates and all vertebrates. I hope this much is clear to everyone. Now let us see about asexual reproduction in animals. Reproduction is common among single-celled organisms and animals with relatively simple organization. In protists and monerans, the organism or the parent cell divides into two to give rise to new individuals. Thus, in these organisms, cell division is itself a mode of reproduction. It takes place in animals in different ways, that is, by fission, by budding, by spore formation. Okay, and vegetative propagation is observed in plants. Okay, so let us study about the first type of asexual reproduction, that is fission, in detail. Fission is the division of the parent body into two or more daughter individuals identical to the parent. Okay, in fission what will happen? There will be division of a parent body into two or more daughter individuals, and these daughter individuals are identical to their parents. Okay, as you have already studied in 10th class, that is, fission is the process in which, it is a process which occurs in two steps. The first step is karyokinesis and the second step is cytokinesis, where karyokinesis is division of nucleus and cytokinesis is the division of cytoplasm. Now, fission occurs in two ways. The first way is the binary fission and the second way is the multiple fission. Binary fission is the division of the parent cell into two small, nearly equal sized daughter individuals which rapidly grows into an adult. It occurs in single-celled animals like bacteria and protozoa. For example, in amoeba and paramecium. Here you can see, in this diagram, you can see this is one parental amoeba. Parental amoeba divides by binary fission. Binary, where bi means two. So, a single parental cell divides and produces two daughter cells. So, it is called binary fission. Okay, and as I told you, it occurs in two steps, that is karyokinesis and cytokinesis. So first step is karyokinesis. So here you can see the nucleus divides into two nuclei. Okay, and after the division of the nuclei, there is division of the cytoplasm. The constriction in the cell wall will take place and the constriction will ultimately fuse with each other, which results in separation of two daughter cells, that is formation of two daughter cells. So a single parent cell produces two daughter cells. This is called binary fission. Okay. Now the second type of fission is the multiple fission. It is the division of the parent body into many small daughter individuals simultaneously, and it is mainly observed in the organism like Plasmodium, which is the malarial parasite. It is observed in amoeba due to unfavorable conditions. Okay, so what happens here, again you can see in the diagram, the parental cell, this is the nucleus of the parental cell, and in this there will be division of the nucleus. One nucleus divides and produces two nuclei, daughter nuclei are produced. But after the formation of two daughter cell, it is not immediately followed by cytokinesis. Rather, there will be further division of this two daughter nuclei into two more daughter nuclei. As a result, four daughter nuclei will be formed. Okay. Further, in the next stage, the four daughter nuclei will divide and it will produce 8 nuclei. Right. Like that, there will be continuous division of nucleus, and later there will be division of cytoplasm, and then the wall or the membrane will break, which will result in formation of many new daughter cells. So from single individual, many daughter cells are produced. So it is called multiple fission. Multiple means many. So from one individual or from one organism, many organisms are produced. So it is called multiple fission. Okay, it is observed in entamoeba, it is observed in paramecium, it is observed in plasmodium. Okay, now let us move to the next slide, and that is budding. Budding is the mode of asexual reproduction in which unequal and small projections called buds are produced that remains attached initially to the parent cell but eventually get separated and mature into new organisms. Example of the organisms undergoing budding are yeast, hydra, etc. In this picture, it is about hydra, which undergoes budding process. I'll be explaining this diagram after few minutes. Now, depending on the place where the bud arises, budding can be of two types. The first type is external budding, which is observed in hydra and yeast. In hydra is a multicellular organisms. So in hydra, regenerative cells are used for reproduction during budding. A bud develops as an outgrowth due to the repeated cell division at one specific site. These buds develop into tiny individuals which on getting fully mature gets detached from the parental body, becoming a new independent individuals. The same process occurs in yeast, where nucleus divides by process of budding into a new bud which gets detached from the parent yeast. Okay, so this diagram shows the same thing. This is the parental hydra. It produces a small outgrowth. Can you see here? Small outgrowth. It is called bud. Outgrowth increases in size. It becomes mature, that is, it produces all the parts of the body, and once it gets mature, it gets detached or it gets separated from the parent body, and then it lives its individual life. So this is the new organism, new hydra, that is produced from the parental body. Okay, so as this organism, that is hydra, reproduces by the formation of bud or by the formation of outgrowth on its body, the process is known as budding. And as the bud is produced on the surface of the body of hydra, it is called external budding. Now internal budding is also being observed. Internal budding is observed in sponges, okay, by the formation of gemule. Now you might be surprised, what are gemule? This is a new term, right? So a mass of cells enclosed within a common opaque envelope rich in food which germinates into a new plant is called a gemule. Gemmule formation is common in freshwater sponges, example Spongilla, and a few marine sponges. Each gemmule has a group of cells which are called archaeocytes, surrounded by the protective covering. During adverse environmental conditions, a mass of archaeocytes come out via the opening called or via a minute pore called micropyle that grows into a colony. Let me show you the diagram of gemmule. This is the diagram of gemmule, okay, wherein you will find that the mass of cells are enclosed by the opaque covering, right? This mass of cells are called archaeocytes, and here at the top you can find micropyle, which is a small pore which is opening. Pore means opening, okay. So this archaeocytes, they will come out or they will be released out through this micropyle, and then they grow into a new colony, okay. So that is about the internal budding wherein gemmule formation takes place. Now the next type of asexual reproduction is spore formation, or it is also called sporulation. Sometimes the product of multiple fission becomes individually surrounded by resistant coats, that is cyst walls, before their release from parent. The process is called or it is known as sporulation, and the encysted products are known as spores. I hope you are understanding this, okay. Sometimes what happens, the multiple products of the multiple fission, they are individually surrounded by the resistant coats, okay, and this that is the covering is formed which is called the cyst wall before the organisms are released out of the parental body, okay, and this process is known as sporulation. And the encysted product means the new organisms which is produced, or the structure which is produced inside the parental body which has the covering, is known as the spore, okay. It is not only the faster method, that is sporulation or spore formation is not only the fastest method of reproduction, but also helps to overcome unfavorable conditions, okay. During unfavorable conditions, the spore can survive, okay. They can resist unfavorable conditions, and when the favorable conditions are returned, they will germinate and they will produce a new individual. Sporulation is generally found, it is observed in Monera, Protista, algae, and in lower fungi. And different organisms produce different types of spores, like okay, before we move on to the next slide, here you can see this is the structure, okay. Here you can see this is the mycelium, wherein the spores are produced, okay. This rounded structure, the sac like structure at the tip, is known as sporangium, okay, and inside this sporangium the spores are present. Spores are the encysted structures, means they are covered by the thick wall, okay. So when the sporangium dehisces, or when the sporangia dehisce, there will be release of the spores outside, and they will get dispersed in the nearby area, and when the spores get the favorable conditions, they will germinate into new individual, okay. This stalk is known as sporangiophore, and at the tip of the stalk there is the sac like structure which is called sporangium, and inside the sporangium spores are present. In some of the fungi, the spores may be present on the surface of the sporangium, okay. So that is all about the spore formation, okay. We will be studying about different types of spores now. The different organisms produce different types of spores, like zoospores are produced. Here you can see zoospores are produced by Chlamydomonas, okay. So they are microscopic motile structures with one or two flagella. Zoospores, can you see this diagram? Okay, they are microscopic, means they cannot be seen with our naked eyes. Okay, and they are motile because they have two or more flagella. One or two flagella are present on the zoospore, right? As a result, they are motile. Motile means they can move from one place to another place. The flagella helps the zoospore to swim in aquatic habitat for proper dispersal. And these are the most common reproductive structures seen in the members of the kingdom fungi and simple plants such as algae, example Chlamydomonas, even albugo, ulothrix, etc. The second type of spore is the conidia. Conidia, you can see here, these are the conidia. Conidia are non-motile because they do not have flagella, so they cannot move from one place to another place. So they are non-motile. Exogenous spores. Exogenous means they are produced on the surface. Here you can see, okay, they are not produced inside, they are produced on the surface. They are produced on the surface. So they are exogenous spores which develop through constriction on the tips of the hyphae. Okay, again you can see this is the hyphae which undergoes constrictions, means like this constrictions will be formed and it results in formation of the conidia. Okay, example of organisms or fungi that produces conidia, one of the example is penicillium, another is aspergillus, etc. Then about birds in hydra we have already discussed. About gemmules in sponges also we have already discussed. Before we move on to the vegetative propagules, we'll study about fragmentation. It is the breaking of parental body into distinct pieces, each of which regenerate into an offspring. Okay, that means a parental body divides into small fragments, and then each fragment or that each piece will grow into new individual. This process is known as fragmentation and it is observed in hydra, it is observed in planaria, it is also observed in sea stars. Okay, now about asexual reproduction in plants we will study in next video. I hope this much is clear to everyone. Thank you for watching the video.